Progress over perfection. 3 simple words that carry the weight of transformation. For most of us, the reason we hesitate to begin, the reason we hold back our dreams, and the reason we lose faith in ourselves is because we measure everything against an impossible standard called perfection. We imagine that every action must be flawless before we take it, every step must be guaranteed before we move, and every plan must be complete before we start. But perfection is not the beginning of success. It's the illusion that keeps us from even taking the first step. Progress, on the other hand, is the quiet, unglamorous act of moving forward, even when you're uncertain, even when it's messy, and even when no one is watching. When you think about your life so far, the things that have truly changed, you weren't the perfect moments, they were the imperfect ones. They were the days you stumbled, the nights you questioned yourself, and the times you failed but decided to try again. Perfection doesn't teach you anything new. Progress does. Each small action, each attempt, each imperfect effort is a teacher that shapes your strength, deepens your understanding, and prepares you for what's next. The mistake most people make is believing that success comes from a flawless path, when in truth, it comes from consistency. It comes from showing up again and again, no matter how rough the journey feels. Progress over perfection means accepting that growth is not a straight line. There will be times when you move forward quickly and times when you crawl. There will be moments when you feel unstoppable and others when you feel lost. But as long as you're still moving, as long as you refuse to give up, you are making progress. Every single step, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you want to be. You might not notice it today, you might not see it tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and realize that every tiny effort built the foundation for your success. We live in a world that constantly glorifies perfection. Social media, society, even our own expectations make us believe that we have to be extraordinary all the time. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's highlight reel and convince ourselves we're not good enough. But what you don't see behind that perfect picture, that perfect performance, that perfect success story, is the mess that came before it. Every great achievement you admire started with a messy beginning. Every person you respect was once uncertain, unpolished, and imperfect. They became great because they embraced progress, not because they waited for perfection. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. The masterpiece we eventually admire doesn't appear all at once. The sculptor doesn't strike the stone once and reveal perfection. It's a process of chipping away, one imperfect stroke at a time, guided by patience and vision. Each strike removes something unnecessary, revealing something new. That's what progress looks like in our lives. It's the process of refining ourselves through effort, failure, learning, and persistence. Every attempt is a stroke of the chisel, shaping us into who we are meant to become. There's a quiet courage in progress that perfection will never know. Perfection waits for the right moment, the right plan, the right feeling. Progress starts with what it has. Perfection says, I'll begin when I'm ready. Progress says, I'll begin now and I'll figure it out along the way. The truth is, you'll never feel completely ready for your next step. No one ever does. Growth doesn't wait for readiness. It demands action. Every expert you've ever admired started as a beginner who dared to take an imperfect first step. Every business, every art form, every movement began with someone who was willing to try before they were ready. When you chase perfection, you set yourself up for frustration, because perfection is not a real destination. It's a moving target. The closer you get, the farther it moves. No matter what you achieve, there will always be something you could have done better, something you could have improved. But when you focus on progress, you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. You celebrate the small victories, you learn from the missteps, and you build resilience along the way. You learn to see value not only in the results, but in the journey itself. Progress over perfection also means showing compassion to yourself. Too often, we speak to ourselves with criticism instead of kindness. We say things like, I should be farther along by now, or I'll never be good enough. But growth doesn't come from punishment, it comes from patience. If you treat every misstep as a failure, you'll stop moving. But if you treat it as feedback, you'll keep learning. Every mistake is information, every setback is guidance, and every delay is part of the process. When you understand this, your relationship with progress changes. You stop fearing imperfection and start embracing learning. Think about nature. A tree doesn't sprout to full height overnight. It grows in seasons slowly, quietly, sometimes invisibly. There are seasons of bloom and seasons of stillness, but growth never stops. You don't see the roots growing deeper beneath the soil, but that's where the real strength is being built. You are the same. Even when you can't see visible results, even when you feel stuck, growth is still happening within you. Every challenge you face is stretching your patience, your strength, and your faith. Every obstacle is teaching you something you will need later. Perfection often leads to procrastination. How many dreams have been delayed because someone was waiting for the perfect time? How many goals have been abandoned because the first attempt wasn't flawless? The problem with waiting for perfection is that it keeps you trapped in hesitation. You wait, and eventually, opportunities pass you by. But progress invites you to take imperfect action. It invites you to start where you are, use what you have, and trust that you'll improve as you go. The first version of anything you create won't be perfect, and it shouldn't be. Perfection isn't the goal, evolution is. You refine through repetition, you learn through experience, and you build confidence through doing. When you choose progress over perfection, you also choose freedom. Freedom from fear of judgment, freedom from the weight of expectation, freedom from the illusion that you must have it all together. You begin to live with authenticity instead of anxiety. You realize that real confidence doesn't come from appearing perfect. It comes from knowing that you can handle imperfection. The people who inspire others most aren't those who never fail. They're the ones who fail, learn, and keep going. Their power lies in persistence, not flawlessness. There's a quiet magic in the small steps you take every day. You might think they don't matter, but consistency compounds. One page a day becomes a book. One workout a day becomes a transformation. One act of courage a day becomes a legacy of strength. Progress might look slow in the moment, but it's unstoppable when you stay consistent. Even when you don't feel like you're winning, you're building momentum. The smallest daily effort can change the trajectory of your life if you just don't stop. It's important to remember that perfection often hides behind fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of not being enough. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every failure carries a lesson that brings you closer to mastery. If you never fail, it means you're not taking risks big enough to grow. So let yourself fail, let yourself try things that might not work. That's where progress lives, in the courage to experiment, to explore, to evolve. When you stop being afraid of failure, you start unlocking your full potential. Progress also demands patience. In a fast-paced world, we crave instant results. We want success now, recognition now, transformation now. But real progress is built in the unseen hours, in the quiet persistence when no one is clapping. It's built in the effort you put in when motivation fades, in the discipline to keep showing up even when it's boring, repetitive, or hard. Success is simply the sum of many small, consistent actions performed with intention. Perfection wants a shortcut. Progress understands that the long way is the real way. One day, you will look back and realize that all those small steps, all those imperfect efforts, mattered more than you could have imagined. You will see how the mistakes that once embarrassed you became the stories that strengthened you. You will see how the setbacks that made you doubt yourself actually redirected for you to something better. You will realize that every time you thought you were failing, you were actually growing. That is the beauty of progress. It transforms pain into purpose and confusion into clarity. So, today, I want you to release the need to be perfect. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect skill, or the perfect plan. Begin with what you have, start where you are, and trust the process. The person you admire, the life you dream of, the goal you're chasing, it's all waiting on the other side of action. Don't let perfectionism rob you of your momentum. Every day you move forward, no matter how small the step, you're building a life that reflects courage, not fear. And if you stumble, remember this: progress is not erased by imperfection. One bad day doesn't undo your growth. One mistake doesn't define your worth. You are allowed to be a work in progress. You are allowed to be learning, changing, and improving. In fact, that's what makes you human. You don't have to prove your worth by being flawless. Your worth is already there. You prove it by showing up, by trying again, by refusing to let setbacks break your spirit. Perfection is a finish line that doesn't exist. Progress is a journey that never ends. And the beautiful part about that journey is that you get to redefine yourself over and over again. Each day gives you another chance to do a little better, to grow a little stronger, to move a little closer. That's what success really is. The continuous pursuit of improvement, not the illusion of perfection. The most fulfilled people are not those who reached perfection, but those who kept growing, kept learning, and kept moving despite the imperfections. So, if you take one message away from this today, let it be this: progress is enough. Your effort is enough. You are enough. Keep moving, even when it's hard. Keep believing, even when results take time. Keep growing, even when no one notices yet. Because one day, you'll look back at all the times you doubted yourself, and you'll smile knowing that you made it not because you were perfect, but because you never stopped making progress. Purpose over pressure. Those three words can change the way you experience your entire life, because in a world that constantly tells you to move faster, do more, and achieve everything all at once, purpose invites you to slow down. It reminds you that your journey isn't about keeping up with others. It's about aligning with who you truly are. Pressure pushes you to perform. Purpose invites you to grow. Pressure says you're behind. Purpose says you're right where you need to be. We live in a generation addicted to urgency. Every second, we are told that we must be more productive, more successful, more visible. We scroll through images of people who appear to have everything figured out, and we begin to question our own pace. We start to believe that we're falling behind in some invisible race. But the truth is, there is no race. There is only your path, and your pace is perfect for the story you are writing. The comparison, the pressure, the noise, it all fades when you reconnect with your purpose. Because purpose doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when you stop chasing and start listening. When you live from pressure, everything becomes a performance. You wake up with the weight of expectation on your shoulders, the expectation to prove, to please, to achieve. You measure your worth by how much you accomplish and how others perceive you. But when you live from purpose, life becomes an expression, not a performance. You act not out of fear of failing, but out of love for what you're creating. You stop chasing validation and start building value. The shift may be subtle, but it transforms everything. Purpose gives meaning to effort. It turns what you do into who you are becoming. Pressure thrives on comparison. It feeds on the illusion that your value is determined by how you rank against others. But your life was never meant to be compared. It was meant to be lived. No one else has your exact experiences, dreams, or gifts. You are not here to duplicate someone else's journey. You're here to design your own. The moment you measure your success by someone else's timeline, you disconnect from your purpose. You start running a race that was never meant for you. And even if you win it, you'll feel empty. Purpose, on the other hand, is deeply personal. It's not about outpacing others. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Think about it. Every person who has ever made an impact in this world did so not because they followed the crowd, but because they followed their calling. They didn't let pressure dictate their pace. They let purpose guide their direction. People of purpose move differently. They don't rush. They don't panic when things don't happen immediately. They understand that growth has seasons and that timing is part of the plan. You might not be where you want to be yet, but that doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're still being prepared. Every challenge, every delay, every detour has a reason. The universe, God, life, whatever you believe in, uses time to shape you, not to punish you. Purpose trusts that. Pressure doesn't. When you live under pressure, you focus on outcomes. When you live with purpose, you focus on the process. Pressure says, I'll be happy when I get there. Purpose says, I'll find joy right here. Pressure makes you restless. Purpose gives you peace. There's something powerful that happens when you stop chasing results and start pouring yourself into the meaning behind what you do. You begin to experience fulfillment, not just achievement. You begin to measure success not by numbers or recognition, but by the impact you make and the integrity you keep. Purpose gives you a reason to wake up, even when it's hard. It's the fire that keeps burning when motivation fades. Many people confuse busyness with purpose. They think that if they're constantly doing something, they must be moving forward. But motion without meaning leads to exhaustion, not progress. You can be running at full speed in the wrong direction and still feel like you're achieving something until you realize you've lost sight of why you started. Purpose realigns you. It reminds you that doing less with intention is far more powerful than doing more without direction. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do what matters most. Pressure often comes from fear. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of missing out. Fear of not living up to expectations. But living from fear will always drain you. Purpose comes from love. Love for the work. Love for growth. Love for the difference you can make. And love sustains you. When you act out of pressure, you burn out. When you act out of purpose, you light up. You can always tell the difference between someone driven by pressure and someone fueled by purpose. The one under pressure is exhausted, anxious, always striving but never satisfied. The one with purpose may be tired, yes, but they're fulfilled. They may not have everything yet, but they move with clarity and calm because they know where they're going and why. It's easy to lose your sense of purpose in a world that praises results. The world measures success in numbers, followers, income, achievements, but purpose measures success in impact in the lives you touch, the growth you experience, the peace you cultivate. You can have all the accomplishments in the world and still feel empty if they aren't connected to something meaningful. And you can live a quiet life, unseen by many, but feel deeply fulfilled because you know your purpose. The difference is alignment. When your heart, your actions, and your intentions align, you stop chasing happiness and start living it. Sometimes purpose is not about knowing exactly what you're meant to do. It's about being open to discovery. You don't always find your purpose in a single moment of clarity. You often uncover it through small, consistent acts of curiosity, service, and courage. It reveals itself as you walk your path. And that's why pressure is so dangerous. It makes you impatient. It makes you believe that if you haven't found your purpose yet, you're lost. But you're not lost, you're learning. Every season of confusion is preparing you to recognize your calling when it appears. You are not running out of time, you are ripening into it. The world moves fast, but purpose doesn't rush. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came after long seasons of silence, struggle, and waiting. The butterfly doesn't emerge before the cocoon is ready to open. The seed doesn't sprout before the soil has nurtured it. Likewise, your purpose unfolds in perfect timing. Not your timing, but the right timing. The pressure you feel to make everything happen now is just a distraction from the deeper truth. What is meant for you cannot miss you. The doors meant for you will open, but only when you've grown strong enough to walk through them. Until then, your only job is to keep becoming. Purpose also teaches humility. It reminds you that success is not about being better than others, but but about being of service to others. The pressure-driven mindset asks, how can I stand out? The purpose-driven mindset asks, how can I contribute? When you focus on serving, you naturally rise. Because the world always makes room for people who act out of genuine purpose. Pressure isolates you, but purpose connects you. It aligns your energy with something greater than yourself, and in doing so, it gives your life depth. Every time you act from purpose, even in small ways, you reclaim your power. You begin to live from intention rather than reaction. You stop chasing validation from the outside and start drawing strength from within. You realize that you don't have to prove your worth, you just have to express it. Every meaningful action you take is a statement. I am living for something that matters. And when you live that way, pressure begins to lose its hold. It no longer controls you, because you've anchored yourself in something that can't be taken away. Purpose is also what gives your struggles meaning. When you know why you're doing something, you can endure almost anything. The challenges don't disappear, but they stop defeating you because you see them differently. You begin to understand that the pressure you feel isn't always an enemy. Sometimes it's the tool that shapes you. Diamonds are formed under pressure, yes, but not all pressure is destructive, only the kind that has no direction. When pressure meets purpose, it becomes strength. It forges resilience. It teaches you to turn pain into power and delay into discipline. It's easy to let pressure trick you into thinking you must have everything figured out by a certain age, that you must reach a specific milestone to be valuable. But life doesn't follow a universal timeline. Some people discover their purpose early, others discover it later. Some bloom in their 20s, others in their 50s. And that's okay. Flowers bloom in different seasons, but they're all beautiful when they do. Stop rushing your growth just because someone else's garden is blooming before yours. Your time is coming, and it will be worth the wait. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace is that your worth is not measured by your productivity. You are not a machine. You are a masterpiece in progress. Rest does not make you lazy. Reflection does not make you weak. You don't have to earn the right to slow down. In fact, slowing down might be exactly what helps you reconnect with your purpose. Pressure keeps you busy. Purpose keeps you balanced. The quiet moments when you pause, breathe, and reflect are often the moments where clarity appears. So, if you feel overwhelmed right now, if you feel like you're falling behind or carrying too much weight, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not behind. You're being guided. You are exactly where you're supposed to be for this part of your story. Take the pressure off your shoulders and replace it with presence. Be here, now. Do what you can with what you have, and trust that it's enough. You are not late, you are aligning. Purpose over pressure is not just a mindset, it's a lifestyle. It's a choice you make daily to respond to life with intention instead of reaction, to honor your inner voice over outside noise, and to value depth over speed. It's the choice to walk with faith, even when the road is uncertain, because the truth is, you will always face pressure to succeed, to prove, to become. But when your life is anchored in purpose, pressure loses its power. You move with calm conviction instead of chaos. You know who you are, and that's more valuable than anything you could ever achieve. At the end of the day, no one will remember how quickly you reached your goals. They will remember how deeply you lived your truth. No one will celebrate how perfectly you executed your plans. They will celebrate how passionately you pursued your calling. The legacy you leave won't come from the pressure you endured. It will come from the purpose you embodied. So, breathe. Let go of the need to rush. Stop chasing the illusion of enough. You already are enough. The pressure will pass, but your purpose will remain. Trust it, follow it. Let it guide you quietly through the noise of the world. And one day, when you look back on your journey, you'll realize that every step, even the slow ones, even the painful ones, was leading you exactly where you were meant to go. Because you didn't live by pressure, you lived by purpose. And that made all the difference. Faith over fear. These three words hold the power to change how you face every single moment of your life. Because at the heart of every decision, every dream and every challenge, there is a choice to be guided by fear or to be grounded in faith. Fear whispers that you're not enough. Faith reminds you that you already are. Fear tells you to turn back. Faith tells you to take one more step. Fear is loud, impatient, and demanding. Faith is quiet, steady, and unshakable. And while fear may come naturally, faith must be chosen every day, in every situation, especially when it's hardest to believe. We all know fear. It's the voice that questions your worth, that magnifies your doubts, that paints worst-case scenarios in the mind. It's the hesitation before the leap, the anxiety before the change, the heaviness before the breakthrough. Fear tries to convince you that safety lies in standing still. But what it doesn't tell you is that stillness can also become a prison one, where you watch your dreams fade behind the bars of what if. Faith, however, is what gives you wings. It tells you that the unknown isn't a threat. It's a canvas. It tells you that even if you don't see the whole path, the next step is enough. Faith is not blindness, it's confidence in something beyond sight. It's the strength to trust in the process, even when you don't understand it. It's knowing that the same power that carried you through yesterday will carry you through tomorrow. Faith doesn't eliminate fear entirely, but it gives you the courage to move despite it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else, your purpose, your dream, your belief, is more important than fear. That's what faith does. It reminds you that you have something worth fighting for, worth believing in, worth enduring for. Fear makes your world smaller. It tells you to settle, to lower your expectations, to avoid risk. Faith expands your world. It invites you to step into possibilities you can't yet prove. Every great story of success, innovation, or transformation has one common thread: someone chose faith when fear was easier. Every time someone stepped into the unknown, they made a decision to believe in what could be, even when there was no guarantee. That's where the magic happens, in the space where fear tries to stop you and faith pushes you forward. We often think of faith as something spiritual, but it's also deeply practical. It's in every moment you choose hope over despair. It's in every time you trust yourself to keep going even after failure. It's in every decision to start again after a setback. Every moment you choose optimism instead of cynicism. Faith is the muscle of resilience. It grows stronger every time you use it. The more you trust, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the more courage you develop. And suddenly, the fears that once paralyzed you lose their power, not because they disappear, but because your faith outgrows them. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but faith transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Life will never give you complete clarity before you move. You won't always know how things will work out, and that's okay. Because faith doesn't ask for guarantees, it asks for willingness. It asks you to believe that even if the path twists and turns, there's a purpose to it. Sometimes faith will mean walking into a door you're not sure will open. Sometimes it means waiting patiently when everything in you wants to rush. Sometimes it means trusting that a closed door isn't rejection, it's redirection. The faith-filled heart doesn't crumble when plans change. It adapts, knowing that there's something greater at work, even if unseen. There will be moments in life when fear feels stronger than faith, when everything around you seems uncertain, your plans, your relationships, your future. When you face loss, failure, or rejection, and you start questioning whether you're truly guided or completely alone. In those moments, it's easy to let fear win. But that's when faith must speak louder. Faith doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. It means you choose not to be ruled by it. It means whispering to yourself, "I don't know how, but I will make it through this." It means trusting the light even when you can't see it yet. Think about every challenge you've overcome in your past. At the time, You probably didn't know how you would get through it. You might have felt lost, unprepared, or broken. But you made it here. You faced fear before, and yet, you're still standing. That's proof of faith, not necessarily the religious kind, but the kind that says, something inside me refuses to give up. You've been carried by a strength that can't be measured, but can always be felt. And that same strength is still within you. Faith isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's already there, waiting for you to trust it again. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you to be realistic, to play it safe, to avoid disappointment. But logic without vision is limitation. Faith, on the other hand, invites you to be brave enough to dream beyond your current circumstances. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about believing you can shape it. Faith allows you to look at a problem and see potential, to look at a setback and see setup. It teaches you that even pain has purpose. Every delay, every detour, every closed door is refining you for something bigger. Fear says, what if it all goes wrong? Faith says, what if it all goes right? Fear is loud because it's easy. It requires no effort to worry, to doubt, to imagine failure. Faith takes effort. It requires surrender. It demands trust. It's choosing to believe in something unseen not because it's guaranteed, but because it's possible. That's where real strength lives. The person who moves in faith isn't reckless. They're rooted. They know that even if they stumble, they will rise. Even if they fall short, they will learn. They understand that failure doesn't define them, it refines them. Fear judges every mistake as an ending. Faith sees it as an education. Sometimes faith is not a roar. Sometimes it's a whisper. It's the quiet voice that tells you to get up again, to keep trying, to keep believing, even when nothing around you seems to change. It's the stillness in your heart that says, this isn't the end. The world celebrates big victories, but real faith lives in the unseen, in the daily discipline of hope. It's choosing light when darkness surrounds you. It's showing up when you feel like hiding. It's loving when you've been hurt. It's forgiving when you want to hold on. That's faith, the ability to rise again and again with grace. There's a reason fear feels so heavy, because it feeds on control. Fear wants you to predict, manage, and secure every outcome. But life doesn't work that way. The more you try to control everything, the more anxious you become. Faith, however, teaches surrender, not as weakness, but as wisdom. It says, I don't have to know everything to move forward. I don't have to see the entire staircase to take the next step. There's freedom in that kind of trust. It releases you from the need to be perfect, from the illusion that you can plan your way out of uncertainty. Faith gives you peace in the middle of chaos, not because circumstances are perfect, but because you know you'll be okay regardless of them. There will always be reasons to be afraid, uncertainty in the world, obstacles on your path, moments of doubt. But fear cannot coexist with focus. When you fix your eyes on your vision, your purpose, or your higher calling, fear begins to fade. That's why faith is not just belief, it's alignment. It's the conscious decision to focus on possibility instead of limitation. When you believe that something greater is guiding you, you begin to move with quiet confidence. You stop reacting to every setback and start responding with wisdom. You stop panicking about how it will happen and start trusting that it will. Faith is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary examples of resilience. The difference between someone who gives up and someone who grows stronger is not that one never felt fear, it's that one refused to let fear dictate their story. Every breakthrough in your life will come from a moment when you chose faith instead of fear. The moment you applied for something you weren't sure you'd get. The moment you spoke your truth, even when your voice trembled. The moment you took a chance on yourself, despite uncertainty. Those are the moments that define your future. Faith also requires patience. We often want immediate results, instant answers, visible proof. But faith works quietly and gradually. It's the unseen foundation that strengthens you before the breakthrough comes. The waiting seasons are not wasted, they are working seasons. They teach you endurance, gratitude, and depth. They shape your character. You might not see it yet, but faith is building something within you, a strength that cannot be shaken when the storms come. Because storms will come, but when your foundation is faith, you don't crumble. You grow deeper roots. Fear focuses on what you can't control. Faith focuses on what you can do right now. You can take a small step. You can keep learning. You can keep believing. That's enough. Each act of faith, however small, compounds over time. Just like a seed, you may not see the growth immediately, but beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. Your belief is building momentum. Your courage is attracting opportunity. Your persistence is shaping your destiny. Faith doesn't always change your situation instantly, but it always changes you. And when you change, your situation eventually follows. The most beautiful thing about faith is that it's contagious. When you walk in faith, others around you feel it. You become a living reminder that it's possible to stand tall even when life shakes you. You inspire others to rise, to hope, to believe. You remind them that fear is not final. That alone is a powerful purpose, to be a light for others while you walk your own uncertain road. So, if you're facing fear today, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, take a deep breath and remember, you've been afraid before and still made it through. You've faced uncertainty before and still found your way. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need faith enough for this moment. That's all. The rest will unfold in time. When you live by faith, you stop needing to know what's next because you trust that whatever comes, you'll be ready for it. You stop letting fear control your decisions and start letting faith shape your destiny. You stop surviving and start living. Because faith over fear isn't just a phrase, it's a way of life. It's waking up every day and saying, I may not know how, but I know who I am. I may not see the way, but I trust that there is one. It's believing that even in the dark, you are guided. Even in the storm, you are protected. Even in the waiting, you are growing. And when you live like that, nothing can truly defeat you. Not failure, not rejection, not uncertainty. Because your foundation is unshakable. So, choose faith, again and again. Even when fear feels louder, even when doubt surrounds you, even when everything seems uncertain. Choose faith because fear limits you, but faith liberates you. Fear looks at what can go wrong. Faith imagines what can go right. Fear says, I can't. Faith says, watch me. And one day, you'll look back at every challenge, every sleepless night, every fear that once terrified you, and you realize that it all worked out exactly as it was meant to. Not because you never felt afraid, but because you never stopped believing. That's the quiet miracle of faith. It turns your worries into wisdom, your battles into breakthroughs, and your fears into fuel. So keep walking, keep believing, keep choosing faith over fear, and you'll find that every step, even the trembling ones, will lead you somewhere beautiful.